This is the Personal Finance Show.
Hi, I'm Bo Humphreys, and this is the Personal Finance Show. John Kalos worked in a bank for a long time. Over the years, he realized that the bank's mandate was to sell products first, and helping people took a back seat to this mandate. He found himself in a situation where he was being told he had to sell investment products that weren't right for his clients. John had had enough and decided he could be a financial planner on his own, without the bank forcing sales quotas on him. He could offer his clients the right products for them, based on their individual life situation and goals. Once out on his own, he could so clearly see that people were still being taken advantage of by the banks. So he created his podcast, Confessions of an Ex-Banker, which strives to inform Canadians about the important financial stuff that the banks won't tell you, because it's not going to help them sell more products. John is very passionate about actually helping people, and not just selling them a product to get a commission and then hanging them out to dry, which is unfortunately what many financial professionals have done in the past, leading to mistrust and skepticism of everyone in the personal finance business. John joined me from Montreal, Quebec, to tell his personal finance story and how he's trying to help people achieve their financial goals.
I tell this to my kids all the time. My kids are 13 and 11 now.
Oh, nice.
So my first job was delivering newspapers. And the newspaper was the Montreal Star, which doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed in 30 years.
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, that's right. And I was 8 or 9 years old, and I had a route of 12 newspapers. Well, I remember my first week. Was it the first week or the first couple of weeks? I accumulated $5.18. Tips back then were a nickel, a dime, some pennies, stuff like that, right? So, and then when I got the money, it was all in cash. I took it to the bank. And I opened up a bank account on my own to put the money in.
Well, wait. Why would you just? Who would have given you this idea? Just your parents would have talked to you previously, or you just decided?
Not at all. I just decided. I knew what bank accounts were, and back then all you did was sign a little card, and your bank account is ready in like 5 minutes. Now It can take 3 days.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's my first experience with money. I got so thrilled that I had all this change and a couple of paper bills, and I was freaking out. So obviously the industry that I'm in right now, I had a passion for money from a very young age.
You just wanted to hold on to it. You just wanted to keep this money. You would like, oh, I'm so excited about this. I want to save it. I want to hold on to it.
I wanted to see the book that the bank gave me with the printout showing how much money I have, and I wanted to see it grow. So I wasn't spending money back then. I was 9 years old. I bought a chocolate bar for 25 cents or something. But
Did you keep any? You didn't keep any of it for yourself, though? Did you?
No, not at all. That's why I remember the number $5.12.
Yeah. So did you continue to do that then? Like every week or month or whenever you were getting paid?
It was I did it for about 3 months, and it were all in the summer months, obviously. And then that summer we actually packed up and moved to Greece.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's the next portion of my life.
Yeah. So wait, how old were you then when you moved to Greece?
I was 9 years old.
Wow. So you were born in Quebec.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So and your parents are Greek.
That's right. They came in the 60s.
They came in the 60s. So
Yep.
why move back after 9 years?
I'll tell you what. As a matter of fact, we moved back 5 years before as well.
Oh.
So here's what happens with Greek immigrants, and maybe it's not everybody, but generally speaking, when they came, they wanted to come here, make some money so they can send it back to their parents who were poor in Greece, right? And then they come back. So we tried that. My mom was obsessed with going back to Greece. On the other hand, the second time when we went back, after 9 months, we came back to Montreal. And it was my mom who said, I can't live here. Like she got Canadianized, let's say, all right?
Okay, so she couldn't handle being back in Greece. What was it about Canada that do you remember that drew her back?
Yeah, the fact that we're civilized.
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
things are a little more rough around the edges, okay, in Greece. It still is like that. That's society. And when I say rough around the edges, I mean like when the bus comes, right? Everybody's just hurls in. They don't wait up in line the way we do. When when I'm at the bakery shop and I'm waiting for bread, I won't be served because I'm a kid, and he'll serve all the other people that come in after me. So this is what I mean by
So a little more chaotic in terms of
yeah, that's
society
right.
and
I blame it on the weather, on the heat.
sure, sure. Yeah, I get it. So you're back in Canada just after 9 months then.
That's right.
And did you do anything in what would you have done in Greece for that time? Was the idea where you would go to school there again and
I was in school for in grade five. Yeah, grade four actually. So I was in school, and we obviously I finished off the school year, and then near the end of summers when we came back. Um, so it was one year of school that happened over there,
yeah, so
and I could
you're bilingual then, I
yeah
imagine.
trilingual.
Trilingual, French as well then.
Évidemment, oui.
Oui, oui, oui. Moi aussi, mais je pratique pas beaucoup, non.
Ok, oui, et je peux voir que tu pratiques pas beaucoup.
Je manque beaucoup de mots.
C'est ça. Et ton accent,
Oui, mon accent, oui.
C'est pas québécois.
Non, c'est pas québécois, c'est le nord de l'Ontario.
Voilà.
Voilà. So so you speak in Greek, you speak in French, you speak in English. But if we can go back to coming to Canada from Greece, so just to talk about personal finance then in Greece, it's not easy to make money to make a living then.
That's correct. I mean, personal finance in Greece back then, nobody had a cash register. It was all so very, very behind the curve, and nobody did their taxes. There wasn't any income taxes, if I'm not mistaken, in the late 70s.
Okay.
And people would keep money in their drawer. So the idea of personal financial planning or personal finances, you make money, you spend it. You make money, you spend it. You live in the house that your parents had, or three generations without any property taxes or anything like that. So life was, a lot more simple, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't want to get into politics or anything because I don't really know a lot about this. But did this kind of all lead to the demise of the Greek financial system?
Yes, it has, and which happened again in 2009.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah.
And what happened? What happened in Greece? Basically, Greece was a microcosm of what the whole world is suffering. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
which is spending more than you make, and the government did it, the people did it. Those are the basics of what happened in 2009.
It's funny how basic concepts can even be lost by an entire country, an entire organization, government, right?
Certainly, and you know what? It has been lost by every government, right? Because almost every country is in a deficit situation, and they have a
true,
large
isn't
debt.
it? Yeah. Wow.
So, some people confuse deficit and debt. Deficit is the negative that you have over 1 year. The debt is the accumulation of all those negatives. And so
so if there's a bunch of deficits in a row or the continuous debt and there's no plan to get out of it, then that's an issue. A deficit is just, we will make it up in the next year, hopefully.
Which we never do. Right?
Does anyone? Yeah, I guess not. So you came back to Canada, heading into high school, is that right?
I head into grade 6. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, no,
so
not quite.
No, I'm sorry, grade 5. Basically, I went to 5 different elementary schools when I was in elementary school.
Wow. So
there was a lot of jumping around.
So were you able to get some more side jobs when you got back and continue to make your money?
No, the first job that I had after then was, and I was heading into high school, so I didn't even consider going back on the paper route.
Sure.
Role. So I got into high school, and then my first job after that was babysitting at 14.
Okay. And do you remember how much people made at that time?
I was making, I think, for 3 hours when I was doing it, maybe 3 days or 3 days a week. I was getting $20 for those 3 days.
Okay, that doesn't sound so bad for some reason. I don't know.
For a kid that is, 14, going on 15, having $20 in their wallet. Are you kidding me? That was great.
Yeah, okay.
I was thrilled.
But no, so now you're a teenager. Are you still like loving the interest growing in the bank account like you were when you were a little younger, or are you spending it?
And you know what? No, I think I was somewhere in the middle where I was saving some and I was spending some.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least you kept some of it. And so now you're going through high school, you're babysitting. Maybe did you get some kind of a retail job at some point or any other jobs?
No, when I finished high school, which was 17, I was 17. I actually had a job, or I got a job at a hospital, a big hospital here in Montreal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, called the Royal Victoria Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about that is I was finishing up my finals in high school, and the time of the test conflicted with my training at the hospital. So I mean, I had to write an exam at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at the hospital at 7 o'clock to start my shift.
Oh, no.
And so, my goodness, how do we take care of that? I called the hospital. I asked them if they can do anything. They said, get your ass over here. And
So what happened?
so here's what happened. The training back then was basically 3 days of being on a ward with an orderly. I was an orderly. I was a patient attendant.
Okay,
so
yeah.
job. So the only training that they had back then was spend 3 days with this guy on the floor, and then you're fine. So the guy that I was supposed to spend time with, my father knew, and he told him, look, he's going to be a little bit late, and he was fine with that, and that's how we did it.
Okay, well that worked out.
Yeah, there wasn't any supervision, but it's quite interesting that I was in my whites at school writing exam, and I say my whites, my hospital whites.
Yeah.
Writing exam, then rushing over to the hospital. So things were a little hectic, obviously.
So how long were you an orderly for?
I was an orderly part-time for 10 years.
Wow, okay. And so part-time, and when did you start doing something else in the other part of your time?
In my early 20s, when I finished school, university, that's when I started my career in the banking sector.
Okay, so you're orderly part-time, just right out of high school, and then you went right into university, or you just worked part-time and then decided you wanted to go?
I went straight into university. Back then, I mean, we had the choice, right? But nobody did it. Nobody talked about that. It was almost an unwritten law that says high school here in Quebec, it's CEGEP.
Yeah, CEGEP, yeah.
Right? And then 3 years of university, and that's just how it is. Nobody even questioned it or said, I'll take a year off to travel. Those things weren't happening back then.
That is kind of how a lot of people view it, and I think the whole taking a year off or entrepreneurial route or the trades route is becoming hopefully a little more normalized these days. But you're right, that was the track for a long time in a lot of people's minds.
That's right. But the negative about that is, at 16 or 17 years old, they're asking you, what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah, how do you
know?
know?
How the hell am I supposed to know?
Yeah, I don't think you know. So what did you end up deciding to start with?
I'll tell you what, I have a passion for sciences as well.
Okay.
And so my goal originally was to become a pharmacist.
Nice. My wife is a pharmacist.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah. She's in med school now, but she's a pharmacist and decided to go to med school. So
that's interesting. And I mean, in the medical field, so she's not going to be unfamiliar with anything. That's for sure.
The pharmacy degree kind of gives her a little bit of a leg up. Yeah.
So here's what happened with me. So I'm in the science program at McGill University. It was biochemistry. I had to apply to go to a French university. I didn't consider about going anywhere else in Canada. But the pharmacy program here in Quebec is only given in French.
Okay.
And my French wasn't that great, so I didn't pass the entry exam.
Oh, wow.
In French. So I decided, you know what, let me take a semester or 2 or 3 in biochemistry. I was always interested in that. And then I might go somewhere else to do my pharmacy. But here's what happens, and this is interesting, Bo. October 19th, 1987 comes around.
Yes. Oh, okay. I know the significance of that.
There you go. And
maybe you can tell everybody.
I shall. I'm in my first year of university in biochemistry. And what happened then is the stock market crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the markets around the world went down by about 20%.
This is
And
Black Friday, right?
that's
The original term Black Friday before they...
actually it was Black Monday.
Black Monday. Okay,
Yeah,
there we go. Perfect.
yeah. Friday had gone down quite a bit, but Monday was the killer.
Monday was the... Oh, okay.
That's right.
Wow.
So obviously it was all over the news. And what I did is, and stepping back 1 second, when going through high school and university or starting university, I didn't think about money. I mean, I was making it, whatever, but I think it never dawned on me to do a career out of it. I always wanted to do something in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because my parents said, go in the medical field. But what happened in 87, again in October, when the markets fell, the next day I skipped my classes and I went to the stock exchange to go see what's going on.
Yeah, why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, what's all the hype about? What happened? So I fell in love with it.
Hmm.
And the next semester I switched all my classes and I started taking commerce courses.
Okay, so you're partway through this you said biochemistry?
Yeah, I had just started. It was my first semester.
Okay. So I really like that. There's just this world event. Nothing else was pointing you in any direction. The science was almost like a default because you were interested in it. But this really drew you over to the investment or business side.
That's right. I still have a passion for the sciences, natural sciences and physics and chemistry and stuff like that. But I fell in love with the whole industry when that happened.
So what did you end up finishing with a degree then in commerce?
Yeah, in finance.
Okay.
So I got my undergrad and then I went to work. And to become a financial planner, I wasn't a financial planner back then, but to get into the industry, you have to take a couple of courses again. So I went and took my courses and I started my career in the banking sector in the early 90s.
So did you get a job at a bank and then take the courses like while you were there?
Yeah. My first job was a teller.
Okay.
A part-time teller for 20 hours a week or so. And I took my courses to become a stockbroker.
Okay.
Once that was done, I mean, I spent a couple of years as a teller. And then about 2 years later, after I finished my courses, I went to work as a stockbroker.
And was that for a bank as well?
Yeah. Most brokerages, those are the days that most brokerages were owned by banks, meaning that's when they started purchasing independent brokerages.
Oh, okay.
So I was working for one of the major banks as a stockbroker.
And then how long did you stay, or did you stay with that bank, or did you go to other banks?
My teller job was a certain bank, and then as a broker, I went to another bank because I had heard and I had somebody who worked in that firm, so I went there, and I was a broker for 3 years.
3 years, okay.
That's right.
And you have a podcast, Confessions of an Ex-Banker.
Right.
So there's already a spoiler that you didn't stay. It was after the 3 years you then went out on your own?
Here's the deal, and I'll try to wrap this as quickly as I can because it's somewhat of a long story, but here's how it starts. When I was a broker, I got turned off my second year because I had clients who were elderly. I got along with elderly people, and that's from the experience that I had from the hospital.
Oh yeah, of course.
The average age is 70 years old. So in a hospital, is 70 years old. So I had a lot of experience, and I figured that's a good market to go and work with, and I enjoyed their stories and whatever. And the brokerage firm at one point almost forced me to sell a certain stock that they underwrote. So the brokerage firm took a company, they brought them public, and we had to sell the shares. So I didn't feel comfortable with that, and I didn't sell any. And I was told, you're going to have to do this. And it was unfortunate. These things were happening back then. They don't happen now.
And why didn't you like it? Why didn't you like the product, other than the fact that they owned it and bought it?
That type of stock wasn't appropriate for the kinds of clients that I had. It was an oil and gas startup, let's say.
So very risky.
Very risky, very volatile. And, telling you what happened to that stock might be for another podcast.
Sure.
But let's just say that it turned me off where I wasn't able, I felt like my hands were tied and I wasn't able to advise clients or investor money the way I think it should be invested.
Yeah.
So that hurt. So I went, that's why I spent 3 years there. So I went to work at a bank in the front lines as a financial planner. And back then, that's when banks were introducing the financial planner post. So in the mid 90s, I was a financial planner for a bank. What happened there is was recommending products which were very, very cheap, and they're called index funds. You may have heard, okay, or exchange traded funds is what the term is used these days, but index funds. And they told me after 5 years, they told me, stop selling these things. Not enough fees on them. Sell our other products. Index funds should be for do-it-yourselfers. So that turned me off. And I went to another bank.
Sorry to interrupt. You
Yeah.
made the decision to sell index funds because you thought they were, reasonably priced products and they fit the profile of your clients.
Exactly.
But at a certain point, the bank stepped in and said, "Oh, you know what? We're not doing that anymore, or this isn't what we want you to do."
That's exactly right. And banks became sales machines in the 90s, and they became product oriented in the late 90s going into the year 2000. They became product oriented. So they started paying people based on the product that they were selling. And that wasn't right as far as I'm concerned. Again, that's not giving unbiased advice. Okay, this is still what's going on in banks. So I moved to another bank, and I was able to do my gig again for another 5 years until they told me, no more. So I've been doing index funds and these types of investments for over 20 years.
Yeah.
That's my gig,
Yeah.
and I think that's the best. That's the best that I can do for clients. So I moved there, and I went to the private bank of that bank that I was working at.
Okay.
There's a private banking division for $1 million clients.
So private like wealth management.
Exactly. And so I didn't have the issue of mutual funds there. And then after 7 years, I thought I can do this on my own and give people the same type of service. Have people around me that know taxes and estate planning and stuff like that.
Yeah, have an expert circle.
Exactly. I would be able to do this on my own. That's what I did 3 years ago.
Okay, so 3 years ago, so you were a banker for a long time.
Yes, I was.
Or in a bank, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, from the early 90s until 2015.
Wow, and so you tried to work outside the box. You tried to think differently, and they just kept stomping on you.
They were hammering away, saying, let's get some more revenue coming in. And when you're in a position where they're saying, you have an objective to sell GICs which are guaranteed investments, and an annual objective to sell mutual funds. And when you're at 150% of your GICs, for example, and your boss is breathing down your back because you're at 70% in mutual funds, well, you might be tempted, the next client that comes in to sell mutual funds, which is not right. So there's a potential conflict of interest, which is something that I've been fighting for more than 20 years.
No, absolutely. And it's a good fight to fight. I mean, there is a way of, selling products that you bought, say, like, a bank can do this, but I think the way that they went wrong, and you can agree or disagree, is that they just tried to sell them to the blanket market, as opposed to looking at the client and saying, hey, we have this giant portfolio of things. This is right for you. This is right for you. And then maybe we would still trust them if they did that.
Correct. And if they were able to give an objective opinion, okay, then, things would be better. That's for sure. I don't like the idea of an advisor being paid based on the product that they sell.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. It's horrible. It's used car salesman type of thing.
Yes, if they're peddling the specific product, right? Like, if what's your opinion? And because this is sort of my model is, like, I'm a coach, right? A personal finance coach, and I've been asking people this a lot lately because I'm trying to avoid conflict of interest. I mean, sorry, everybody has conflict of interest. I'm trying to avoid any sort of negative connotations there. Is if like, say, a robo-advisor is a really good option for someone, and you refer them to that robo-advisor, and then the robo-advisor gives you a referral fee. Is that always negative, or is there a positive way to do that?
That's a good question. And for people that are, or for advisors that are choosing ETFs, exchange traded funds, that's the best route to go. Now, is it proper that there's a referral fee? I've never thought about that. But when I get paid from the client for doing a financial plan. And yes, there's a referral fee from a robo advisor. You know what? I've never put anything into that. Like, maybe there shouldn't be.
Well,
On the other hand,
so you're saying you would like this is a deal that you might have with a robo-advisor as well, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's right.
because they have programs for this reason, and the reason I bring it up this way is because I think, well, first of all, we can charge less to people directly if the advisor is paying us referral fees. However, to your point of conflict of interest, if that's the one that we're peddling all the time and we're saying you have to have this no matter what, I think that's maybe where we get into trouble.
You know what? I agree, and there are choices, and I use multiple robo advisors.
That's right.
We don't get a referral fee from the robo advisor. The client pays us for managing their assets.
Oh, so you're getting a assets under management fee.
That's correct.
And
it's coming from the client. So the robo advisor charges the client. Let's say there's a client with no advisor. Okay.
Yeah.
The robo advisor will charge a fee to the client. Okay.
Yes.
If the client is attached with an advisor and they go to the same robo advisor, the fee that they charge the client is less.
Yes.
And the client themselves are paying us, the financial planner, money to manage their assets.
That's
so it's
right.
not the robo advisor directly referring money to us. So there is no conflict of interest. And it's interesting that you mentioned this because it's got me thinking now. And so there isn't a conflict of interest that's to say, go to this guy or go to that guy. I mean, go to one robo-advisor versus another. What I see is that for clients that have a substantial amount of wealth, there's one robo-advisor which is better. For clients that have more modest savings, another advisor is better.
Yeah, that's a good point. And without mentioning them, I agree with you, and I think I know what you're talking about.
There you go. Right.
Specifically talking about which ones we're talking about.
Wink, wink.
Yeah,
right?
but yeah, exactly. But you, but if you're one of John's clients or one of mine, you can come and ask us directly.
When you take, and when I think of this and I say it, I sort of shiver. When you take a client's the client's best interest, okay, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Business is going to follow. Take everybody, look at every individual situation and say, what's the best for this client or this family? If you do that, you can't go wrong. Is it karma? Is whatever it is, if you can truly put that type of mentality into what you're doing, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's. I think that's good, and I think we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation about sales commissions versus referrals versus assets under management versus flat fees if everyone just did this and looked out for the client's best interest, because then they would be like, yeah, you're looking for my best interests, I want you to get paid. And whatever way is best for you to get paid, depending on the structure or whatever product we're talking about or whatever service, then they'd be fine with it, and they would know it's not at their expense.
Right, and this is one reason why Confessions of an Ex-Banker was born. Okay, I literally spill my guts out, and I'm saying it the way it is, and and so people find it interesting. I should start doing them again. I stopped last year, but anyhow.
Yeah, I noticed. So you did 26 episodes. Now this is probably actually I think you started in late 2016.
Yeah, that's
or
right.
Mid,
or was it early 2000? No, I think mid 2016.
Yeah, and then you went to sort of. It seems like you ended right after the quote unquote RRSP season.
That's right. That's right. Life became hectic because I do have a day job.
That's right.
and you know how and I'm a complete amateur when it comes to podcasting and stuff like that, right?
So no one would know that. It sounds very professional to me.
That's great to hear. But as you know, it takes a long time. So I just got so busy, and the podcast became sort of secondary. But I've had a lot of people telling me, start doing them again. So I'm going to find time to do them again.
Yeah, it's great because, just to fill everybody in. So Confessions of an Ex-Banker, they're usually about 15, 20 minutes, maybe even less, depending on how much you have to say in a week. And it's John talking about stuff that he's learned over the years of being a banker that you need to look out for, or that will help you, or the better way to do it, or things that bankers are trying to pull the wool over your eyes, that kind of thing. And you had a 4-part series, I think, on RRSPs.
That's right. What I can say about that is I got comments or people contacted me and they're saying, what do you mean don't buy RSPs? Everybody buys RSPs. I'm saying for the majority of people out there, RSPs make sense. For many people, it doesn't. But you'll never hear that from the industry because they want to sell RSPs.
Can you give us an example then of when it wouldn't make sense for someone to have an RSP?
Yeah. So I'm with a client and we're doing financial planning. Okay. And when I say doing financial planning, I work up a plan.
Yeah, an actual plan.
That's right.
Go figure, right?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But what the plan does, and many people think a financial plan is a retirement plan. It's a lot more than that, because we also take a look at the tax planning situation of the client. And what I was able to show clients is, with the software that I use, I'm able to show them whether it's worth buying an RSP or not. And here's a scenario. If somebody has a certain amount of money, a decent amount of money in RSPs, but they've accumulated other wealth as well, okay, and there's chances that they're not going to use all of their wealth in their lifetime. Well, putting an RSP might make them be in a higher tax bracket when at the age of 70 they have to pull out their RSPs. So at the age of 70, you're forced to take out money from your RSPs. To keep the terms simple, let's just call it that, okay? They're called RIFs then, but the bottom line is at 71, you have to start taking out, and the government's going to, tax you. So I've had situations where clients would be at a higher tax bracket because they'll be earning more money when they turn 70 than when they were working, because they're pulling out, RSPs. So that's a situation where you're saying you're not getting the benefit. You're getting a lower tax break now, and you're going to be paying higher taxes at 70 and over.
It's really kind of crazy, right? I actually, one of my first blogs that I wrote was about this. I think I saw Malcolm Hamilton at a Money Sense conference, and he was talking about, it's not a bad thing, but he over contributed, right, or over saved, right?
Correct.
And there was some mention of this, like, I'm paying more taxes in retirement than I ever did because I've forced. So you're saying they have to take out, let's say it's like 6 to 9% or whatever it is, depending on how old they are. It grows over time, and then they have to take this money out, which means probably cashing out mutual funds or stocks and bonds, whatever they may be holding in the RSP accounts. They have to pay the taxes on that, and then if they don't need it, they just put it back in their bank account, right?
That's right. And they have other sources of money that they can use to live. Maybe, it could even be the revenues that they're getting from their pension or from dividends, whatever. They have the revenue, but the government forces them into a lifetime of a higher tax bracket. So let me make this clear. It makes sense for many employees, okay, who we can sort of calculate and see if they're going to be in a lower tax bracket when they retire. And most people are, okay, so it's not for everybody. But I've seen so many cases where they've been mismanaged by people telling them to take RSPs.
And that's a great thing about, you have financial planning software. There's if you use, say, Planswell, they have free financial planning engine, which does have this stuff. It takes this stuff into consideration as well. If you ever wonder how do they know where to put it in RRSP account or TFSA or to put it in non-registered, well, there's some sophisticated calculations in all of this software. It's not just you have $100 left after your expenses. Oh, it goes into the RSP. No, there's some really forward projections involved there.
That's correct.
To help you.
Yeah, and this the key word is help. A financial planning software cannot eliminate or cannot replace a financial planner.
No, not on its own. Yeah,
because there's life situations that you need to talk about as well.
Yes.
And what I'll say, so there's a personal situation, there's a psychological angle to things. There's I want to leave money to somebody else in the future. How do I go ahead and structure all these things? So there's a lot more, but definitely the financial planning software helps us illustrate what we expect to happen. And you know what? Whatever we expect to happen is not going to happen, Bo.
No.
Okay? That's 100%.
Yeah, that's right.
Every year, what you need to do is every year as things change, whether it's your life, whether some sort of life event or the markets change or interest rates change or whatever, every year, if you make some minor adjustments, you'll get to your goals.
Yeah, and that's where the banks have failed in the past. Where even if you had enough money to get a financial plan from them, it's just sort of a set it and forget it deal.
Yes, you're exactly right. And you know why? And I think I mentioned that in my podcast as well. It's because if the client, if the banker or the planner or whatever brings in the money that you have from other institutions, their job is done. And they're not going to get compensated for reviewing a portfolio or anything like that. All they're interested in is bringing money because they have these objectives that they have to, and that's how they get paid. So that's the unfortunate part also. But as far as I'm concerned, the reviewing of the financial plan is the most important aspect.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? And like you said, the objectives and goals, everyone's situation is completely different, and it changes like every year, or you even say 6 months, every 6 months.
That's right, and it changes. Like from a personal point of view, you might have children. You might be saying, "Man, I'm really getting tired of my job." Well, so you may have come into an inheritance. Who knows? The markets may have everything comes in life. Things come in from left field. You never know what's happening. So you have to adapt your strategy and your plan based on the situation that you will be at that point of time.
And maybe it's not the majority, but I like to think the majority of people who have, say, a CFP designation, or people who are in a coaching position like me, I have this thing called a registered retirement consultant designation. We're in this for the long run. We're not trying. The goal here isn't to bring money in. The goal is to get good clients who you want to have a relationship with for their entire life, if that's possible. Like, who, depending on how long everybody lives, maybe over time their assets will grow, and if you have a fee based on asset management or annually, then you're getting income as you go. But it's not about like, give me a whale with 500 grand, we'll get the commissions off the bat, and then go on to the next one.
Right, which is unfortunate, and that's what happens when you get paid based on volume and based on product,
Mm-hmm. I just feel like I hope that we're on kind of an upswing in terms of people trusting people out there, because it just comes down to trust. No matter, like, I've spoken to a bunch of different people on the podcast and off, and everybody has different things that they offer, right? You may or may not. Sorry, I don't even know. Do you actually sell? You don't sell any financial products, right?
No, well, you know what? When I'm recommending, I don't sell any financial product myself. When I recommend portfolios, I suggest to clients, which ETF portfolio or ETFs to buy.
Yes.
So I am suggesting a product, but it's not really a managed product. It's the markets.
Yeah, well, you're also licensed to do that, right?
That's correct. That's
correct. Some CFPs, and correct me if I'm wrong, are not licensed.
That's right.
To advise. I'm not licensed. I can do a plan. I can especially do a preliminary plan and then send you to people who are more expert. If you want a really comprehensive one with estate and tax and all that stuff, I would probably send them to CFP like you. Right. But I can deal with the simple stuff, especially anything that follows the RRC retirement steps, right?
Right.
But like you said, a retirement plan is not the same as a financial plan. It's a malleable document. But some people do sell investments, and they are planners. Just as long as you trust them, and they're transparent and straightforward with you about what's happening and who's getting paid for what, I don't think you need to be as scared as maybe in the past. Would you agree?
You're exactly right. As long as the planner is transparent, meaning if somebody is really clicking with their planner, okay, and they're paying a certain amount of fee, which is more expensive than what they can get, I suggest they stay with the planner if everything is transparent.
Yeah.
If the client feels they're getting value.
That's right.
That's all there is to it. But what kills me the most is that there is no transparency.
The same thing goes with bank fees. I've spoken to some people, and I even posted a couple of questions on Quora, like, why do you pay bank fees when you have the option to not? And a lot of them will cite loyalty and wanting to go into the branch and et cetera. And as long as they're fully aware, like, you can pay for whatever you like. You can buy more expensive food. You go to Whole Foods and shop because that's your choice. You don't have to go to No Frills. These are the choices that we make in our lives. I want this, and I feel like you do too. Just want people to be aware.
That's correct. And like I said, what might be valuable for me might not be valuable for you. But just be aware, like you're saying. Yeah. And if a planner is offering, they feel like they're offering serious value, they shouldn't hide, or they shouldn't be scared to tell them
That's
what
right.
you're
Yeah.
charging. Be proud of what you're charging. It's because you're offering more value. If you think you're offering more value than what the client is paying, then you're doing a great job.
Right, and on the opposite end, I'm the connector, I'm the coach, I'm pushing them in the right place. I don't want to charge them that much, and so we only meet a couple of times a year, so that they can save money and they can move on with their lives. Because typically, someone who comes to me is really loathing doing any of this stuff.
And what I see also is there are some people that are able to manage their investments on their own.
Yeah.
And they come to me for a financial plan, and that's fine too. Whatever you think is, as long as people have facts about how people get paid, or about financial products, what are the ups and downs, as long as you have, if you're armed with all the facts, then that's the best position to be in to make the proper decisions for yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why you did yours, and I hope you do another season. It's just nice. They're like great little bits of information, like almost bite-sized 10, 15, 20-minute pieces, right? And you can hear that it comes from your experience. So I'm glad that you did that, and the power of social media is what brought us together.
That's
commented on something. And then you, I don't know, I think I liked your page or something, and then
that's exactly what happened. That's right, on one of the social media forums. Let's say it's exactly what happened.
And you said that thanks for liking, and then I checked out your podcast and your site, and I like your story, and you're on the podcast now, and I'm glad you came on. Thanks.
You bet. It was a pleasure.
So where do people find out more about John Kalos?
Well, you can obviously email me, but I'm with an independent firm called Iron Shield Financial Planning.
Okay.
Just Iron, IRON, and Shield, one word, financial planning.ca. That's where you'll find my biography.
I'll put the link in the show notes for sure.
That sounds great. And that's the best way to communicate these days. And I think if anybody has any questions, or what I've liked always doing is, I don't charge for the first couple of meetings, because I like to get to know the client, and the client needs to kick my tires to find out if I'm the right person for them, and I need to find out if I can help them. So,
and is it only people in Quebec, or anybody in Canada?
No, across Canada.
Across Canada, and you do in-person meetings, or is it online?
In person in Quebec. All right, but if it's from BC, you know what? Well, with technology these days, all right, I can easily do financial planning for anybody in front of a computer. On the other hand, it's not as personal, right? You want to see the person, you want to see the interaction. So, the full experience is not there. But if someone, is convinced that, they found a planner online, and they're convinced that this planner will have their best intentions, then go for it. I can show a financial plan using my screen. I can control a client's screen. It's amazing.
Yeah, the screen sharing is the best sort of thing that's happened to this business, because it does add all of the things that you're missing when you don't have an in-person. But like you said, somebody could listen to this and just think, you know what, I like John's style. I want to work with him, and I don't care that I live in Yellowknife. I want John to do my plan. And so it's good that you're open to that.
You bet.
All right. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get to. We actually haven't met in person, but hopefully we'll get to meet sometime in the future. And thanks for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure, Bo. If you're ever in Montreal, obviously you're going to look me up, and I'll take you to the best souvlaki places in Montreal.
Sounds fantastic.
All right.
If you like this episode, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It would mean a lot to me, and it only takes a few seconds. For the show notes and any links from the episode, head over to my website, investwisely.ca. And while you're there, please feel free to send me a message on my contact page. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Personal Finance Show. I'll be back next week with Hamza Khan, multi-award-winning marketer, accomplished entrepreneur, dynamic keynote speaker, and author of the new book, The Burnout Gamble.